3, 5, 10. What exactly is that? How does that work?
Yeah, so for years 1 through 3, it was focused on the technology, the automation, and the certifications. And during that time, for automation, wound up bringing in the robots, started using the bar feeders more appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Also, with on the technology side, with Mastercam, we uh, upgraded to 5-axis, and we also bought some 5-axis trunnions on the hardware side, and it opened a lot of different work that we didn't have the capabilities for before. And then for the certification, AS 9100 was a goal that I put in there, and that was because I went and did some data analysis on the market. If you're in the United States and you're not a certified shop, you're essentially, for anything that's type of production and doesn't have a local need, you're competing with the whole world.
Right.
People can outsource to other countries. If you are certified, you're competing with shops that are only certified, and
Mm-hmm.
that was about 13% of the shops at the time in the
Yep.
United States were certified. And so it's a barrier to entry and an opportunity to garner longer term relationships and work that fits this company very well. And so that was years 1 through 3. 3 to 5 were about taking all that technology and automation and applying it to scale so that we could grow. And uh, we, in addition, wound up making some additional technology moves, just more the standardization, more for driving standardization, efficiency, et cetera. We did have high QA in the first 3 years, but in the second year, years 4 and 5, we added ProShop ERP. We also did our CMMC 2.0
Mm-hmm.
compliance. We've got an audit coming up for that later this year. And then we also got JCP certified. So all these things for new opportunities to scale. And years 6 through 10, we're initially focused on um, either acquiring or creating a product line and,
Mm-hmm.
and having that as a different revenue stream.
Yep.
But based on how phases 1 and 2 of the strategic plan went, we're not going to have time for that.
Right.
Yeah, with the expansion that's anticipated. So it was, and that's part about being a business owner is you have to have a plan, but you also have to have flexibility and be able to
Mm-hmm.
adjust and monitor to changes that you're envisioning. And years 0 through 5 went well, and so just made a little different turn on what we're doing for 6 through 10.
I'm Nate Wheeler, host of Manufacturing Insiders. Thanks so much for joining us today. So excited to have you. We're going to share some really awesome insights from a manufacturing leader. We only get the best on Manufacturing Insiders, people that have solved real world challenges, and I want you to learn something from them today. We have so much collective experience here, not only from our guests, but also as a marketer. My main company, We Create, generates millions of dollars of revenue for manufacturers every day. And if you would like to talk to me directly about that, I'm happy to give you a free audit. Just reach out to me. But enjoy this episode. Please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. All those likes, every single one of them helps us grow our channel and helps more manufacturing leaders learn from the information that we're sharing. Thanks so much. Not having the experience specifically in the machining space, was there somebody that kind of helped guide you there and put that, helped you put it together and understand what the needs were going to be?
So this was an operating shop at the time. They had been in business for 15 years.
Yeah.
And the founder helped on a part-time capacity or an ad hoc capacity over a year. And the shop foreman had remained on, and he remained on for several years before deciding to retire and move out. But there were a lot of lessons learned as well. And yeah, it would have been better to know a little more about the industry. It would have
Mm-hmm.
helped. But hey, in business, you never have perfect data
Right.
to make perfect decisions,
Yep.
and you calculate risks associated with them and make your decisions. Now, moving on years, last 2.5 years, we've had the same team in place now for that time period. A couple people are from the original team, and all the others are new. And we've got a team now that's very familiar with our process. Our process is mature at this point, and they're all marching to the same drum. And it's a team environment where we help each other learn. People care about what they're making. They want to get better and better and feel good about what they're doing at work. And so with the team that I have in place now, they're constantly helping me. We're AS 9100 certified, and we have a robust quality statement, but we have a simplified version of it too, which is the customer's king, make good parts, get better and better. And that last item, get better and better, is what we embrace every day. And because I've got such a good team, they're regularly pointing out things for me to consider and helping to make the organization more streamlined, more efficient, and helping with, we'll get a new project, we'll bring in team members and say, how do we want to approach this project? We work on it collaboratively. So I've had a lot of help. Mm-hmm. And there's also some other shop owners and companies that I interact with regularly. A great group of people. It's kind of like a community. There's a lot of manufacturing in Florida. It's a great place to be. So I've had a lot of help.
Yep. Yeah, I actually just flew in from Florida this morning. I had a 6:50 flight out of Tampa and got back here and came into the office. So got a little tan going on. But no, we have some customers down there, and a lot of people in the aerospace. So how do you incentivize, I guess, or what sort of culture are you setting up there, and how are you doing it to encourage the employees to bring these ideas for improvements to the table? Because a lot of people just come to work and put their head down and do what they're told and get the job done, but it's almost like a sense of ownership that leads someone to say, hey, I think we should try this, or we should do this differently. How do you foster that?
So it really is a culture. It's about, say, hey, we got a project, and let's get some buy-in on this. Let's get some ideas. Two heads is better than one, the old adage. But we've got very experienced people here, and they care a lot about their work. And, if everything is top down, then they're not going to feel they necessarily have the freedom to participate in decision making, and it can hamper the morale and the output of the product that you're doing. So we have regular meetings. I'm active on the floor talking with the team members. We have subgroup meetings for different projects, just coordinating together and say, hey, maybe we should try this instead, or let's go do this instead. And it creates that environment of teamwork, and they help each other learn. Like we have Mastercam, and I mentioned we went to 5-Axis, and there was some of our team members were not familiar with that, of the programmers, and they needed to train. Plus, there's new things that are coming out all the time, and rather than sending them off to classes, we take different parts either from our local support or from online, or the online through Mastercam or through the web, and the knowledge bases. And then people help teach each other what they learned from it. And it creates, a team environment. There's no competition here. People with competition that seek competition, and I understand and respect that, but it's not what the culture we have. And they usually don't feel comfortable if they come to work in a place like this, because it is such a team environment.